Ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
So I said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh shit. Oh, all right, bet. Here we go.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
One, two, three, four.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Hope you all are having a great Wednesday. We're preparing for the Christmas holidays, right? Hope you guys are prepping safely out there. You know, there's been a lot of violence, man, mass shootings and horrible situations. So my thoughts are with everyone. You all, let's talk about the mystery that still seems to elude many of us, okay? And I'm talking about the drone situation, this crazy uptick in drone sightings that has, and we're not just talking one state or one particular area. There seems to be multiple states that have witnessed an insane amount of drone activity on the eastern seaboard. Now, I said a couple of live streams ago, and I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, that from my perspective, when viewing many of the videos that have made their way out into the internet sphere, so to speak, I personally, just based on that alone, there seems to be, I think, more than one faction, so to speak, of things that we're actually witnessing. In one respect, we see these man-made drones, potentially man-made drones, absolute machines, some making noise, versus other very strange, anomalous sights. And let me just, plasma-based orbs that don't fall in the same category as the other, right? And so things that have, come across my mind is there some sort of a confrontation happening that humans are not privy to? I'm not sure. Is there, between that, a potential war between some other factions that human beings are not privy to? It's hard to say, but it really does come off like that. And I think other people are starting to feel that way too, because just based on what we're seeing happening in the sky, we've got objects shooting at other objects. And I'm not talking about shooting a gun. I'm talking about energy, all right? Some sort of energy being dispensed from one unidentified object to the next. And we've seen quite a few videos. Some of these drones flying into an orb or getting very, very close to an orb and then falling out of the sky like a brick. And it's got a lot of people talking, including President-elect Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden, who has now spoke publicly about these alleged drones. Even our Pentagon had a little something to say about this late yesterday. And it comes down to they don't have an answer. They really don't have an answer. And even the State Department's little presser or a little release of information, it really wasn't much. But there is something else that's floating out there that did pique my interest, and I do think could be a potential another reason why we may be seeing this. And that is there seems to be, as of December 8th, some sort of missing radioactive material. It was actually reported by our government, and some say that this radioactive shipment that has went missing in New Jersey could actually be the link to why we're seeing this all of a sudden influx in these mysterious sightings. So officials continue to investigate the origins of these sightings that appear to be coming in from over the ocean. But again, it's not just New Jersey that's affected. There's been sightings over many states, including New York, Virginia, Connecticut. I've even seen a few, sightings in the South and the West Coast, including Arizona, California, Texas, Wisconsin, up north, in the Midwest. So, and naturally, there's a sighting every single day of a UFO/UAP, and it's very possible that those could have, those don't have anything necessarily to do with what we're seeing happen on the eastern seaboard. But listen to this. According to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, radioactive material went missing on December 2nd. Now, there would have to be a full-on analysis of the timeline, right, of this uptick in drone sightings that we have seen. There'd have to be full-on analysis of that. But this did start after the Thanksgiving holidays, okay? So there's that. And we were talking about it in the first week of December for sure. But on December 2nd, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission alerted that there was a shipment that arrived at its destination and that the container was damaged and empty. And this container, which is all this information is absolutely fueling a lot of conversation, okay? But this container contained radioactive material. And there's talk about dirty bombs. There's talk about, we know that our nuclear ambitions, there seems to be a relation to that when it comes to these other forms of life. When we started dropping atomic bombs, in our deserts, dropping atomic bombs on, on Japan. That got the attention of not just other humans, but other beings of life, other entities. And I think the reason for that, honestly, is because they have to live here too. And they don't want us to ruin their lives either, right? I really do feel that way. But there's no secret that our nuclear ambitions as humans seems to have really kicked off a lot of interaction that has occurred between human beings and other beings that are not human, that may be just as smart as humans. And I think that's what scares human beings. We want to be on top. We want to be numero uno. We want to be on top. And to think that there's another race of beings, right? Not human, but humanoid, right? Would probably be the best way to say that. If they're smarter than us, well, what a blow to our egos, right? But this missing container of radioactive material, there's not a lot of very good information that has been forthcoming on that. And what I consider to be an absolute lack of transparency. Can this radioactive material that is missing be turned into a dirty bomb that could potentially be blown up in the very busy streets of New York City, the busiest city in the world? Now, we know these drones, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are flying in a grid-like pattern. Are they potentially trying to sniff out where this radioactive material is? That's been the talk of the town. That's been really the talk, is that these drones have been put up there to essentially sniff out any high levels of chemicals, including radioactive chemicals, or that may be present in the air. Again, back on the 3rd, our United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission reported that radioactive material had been lost in transit in Newfield, New Jersey. This material was identified as a GE-68 pin source, Eckert and Ziegler model HEGL-0132, with approximately 0.267 MCI of activity that was shipped for disposal but never arrived intact. Now, according to the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the shipping container arrived at its destination, but it was damaged and it was empty. The licensee has actually filed a claim with the shipper. And if the source is not located within 30 days, the licensee will follow up with a full written report to include any root causes or corrective actions. Now, note, that's the exact statement that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission dropped on December 3rd, right? So when I see a statement like that, especially when they tack on, full written report, root cause, and corrective actions, to me, they had time to prep that statement. Best believe. They had time to prep that statement. They released this statement on December 3rd. We know that this uptick of drone activity started happening right after the Thanksgiving holidays. So it's impossible to rule this out as a potential cause. Now, the NRC has categorized this material as less than IAEA Category 3, meaning it would be unlikely to cause permanent injury. However, unshielded material could potentially cause temporary harm if mishandled or in close proximity for any extended period of time. There's also been talk on the web of an increased amount of radioactivity in the air on the eastern seaboard, particularly New Jersey and New York areas. We've got technology constantly sniffing out for radioactive rays, so to speak. And some of these report this data in a public mechanism, in a public way. And there seems to be some sort of an increase of that in the air, which scares many people, obviously, right? But this particular material had been licensed to NASA Cancer Center. So again, several sightings of these drones have been reported in recent weeks, and military bases have even shut down the airspace above them, including Wright-Patterson, the Earl base. There's no question several military installations have had their airspace violated by these, I don't want to say things, but these unidentified objects, right? Something very interesting and that some continue to hang on, and I hang on it as well, is the navigation lighting that seems to be a part of some of these drones. Now, I did see a couple of videos of, one drone that was caught in a tree, a couple, 2 or 3 drones that had actually crashed. But listen, there is a clear difference to me in my 40-plus-year-old eyeballs between the drones that I see flying and the actual orbs. Those orbs look like plasma, like molten metal that is so hot it puts off a light, like in a sphere, almost like the way space looks, or the Earth looks in space, or the sun looks in space. That would be a better description. But they don't have anti-collision lighting and navigation lighting, and they move in a different way than the actual drones that we're seeing. You all know, you all are not dumb. You all know that our government has drone technology that they haven't told us about publicly. You all know this. And here's something else too. I find it interesting that some who have never wanted to talk about UFOs or UAPs or anything in that realm or space are all of a sudden amused by this, But hey, good. The more, the merrier, okay? Literally, the more that talk about this, the merrier, for real. Imagine if it's like a horror show, right? You think about potential radioactive material that's out there that is just poof, disappeared. And what could be done with that material? Now, drones are a lot quieter than a helicopter or a plane. So some may feel like they don't hear anything when these drones are overhead. There's no question in the videos that I've seen, there are instances where some of these drones do make a noise very similar to a helicopter, a buzzing sound. I mean, you all know what a helicopter sounds like, but there's no question you've got that. And then you've got objects that are flying above us that make not a single sound. Not a single sound. Again, I think that they are absolutely, and this is just my opinion, I think we could have potentially American drones up there, foreign adversary drones up there, and another type of unidentified object that flies in the sky that we just don't understand. I've always said, I feel like our skies are policed by a presence that is not human. I feel like they police the skies and, space, trying to get out to space. That's if you can get through the firmament, I guess, right? Everybody talks about the firmament. But again, these plasma orbs, they don't have these FAA mandated lights. Now, the other question is, what commercial drone has the ability to fly around for 5, 6, 7 hours and not need a charge? There's no commercial drones that exist out here on the market that currently that we know of in the public that could do that. But I believe our government does have that technology. I really, really do. But listen, let me tell you what Biden said yesterday. Biden decided that he would speak about this drone situation publicly yesterday for the first time. And he says, there's nothing to worry about. I don't think so, sir. He received a question at the White House regarding the drones, and he said, quote, they're checking it all out. Nothing nefarious, apparently. So far, no sense of danger. There's a lot of drones authorized up there. And then went to say, quote, one started it, end quote, and everybody wanted to get in the deal. What? You all, I don't think there's any question to many, even reporters and other politicians and people, of that nature that I've seen speak on this, that seem to think there's more than one thing happening in our skies, if you get what I'm saying, right? For example, if we're up there doing an operation, as far as Americans are concerned, there's something or someone else that sees us performing these operations, and I think it's rattled their cages as well. But listen, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base spotted a small unmanned aerial system, aka drone, that ranged in sizes and configurations. Some have been quoted as being the size of a car. Some have been quoted as being the size of a school bus. And again, this statement from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base went on to say that the airspace was not affected by the incursions. But listen, okay? Well, that could mean anything. That could mean there's no radioactivity happening in the air, okay? I don't know what that's supposed to. Airspace was not affected by the incursions. No question, we've had several military bases that have closed the airspace above them. There was a joint statement, again, the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, FAA, and Defense Department came out in their joint statement and said that they examined the notable leads from more than 5,000 reported drone sightings and determined that to date, they're a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed wing aircraft, helicopters, and then check this out, stars mistakenly reported as drones. Yeah. No, that's not a star. Have you all ever seen a star hang right above the Hudson? No. That's not a star. It looks like a star, as I was describing. some of these plasma-based orbs, yeah, they absolutely look like stars. That's how stars look when you look at them in the night sky. But it's interesting that they put that portion in their statement. So even our several 3-letter agencies that oversee the United States, several different departments here in the United States, even they are saying there's some sort of a combination of things happening in the skies. Then the statement went on to say that agencies haven't identified anything anomalous. Don't you love our Pentagon? And then continued to say that the reported activity does not currently pose any national security or public safety risk over the airspace in New Jersey or in other states. Agencies, they also urged Congress to enact counter UAS, meaning unmanned aircraft systems legislation, when it reconvenes, saying that this sort of law would extend and expand existing counter-drone authorities to identify and mitigate any threat that could emerge. They're not telling us anything. And you just have to believe what you see with your own eyes, people. There's no question on what millions of people have seen on the eastern, coast in the last few days, you all. This uptick, okay? Give me just a moment. I thought this was an interesting piece of information that came out.
Tonight, growing calls for answers about those apparent drone sightings across the Northeast.
Look at it.
Members of the House Intelligence Committee emerging from a 3-hour classified briefing with the CIA, FBI, and other top security officials.
We need the government to do whatever they can to share as much information as possible to dispel any conspiracy theories or to dispel any, mistaken assumptions about the lights in the sky.
The briefing comes as more suspected drones are spotted at sensitive U.S. military bases from New Jersey to Utah and Ohio. But the Pentagon saying they've now deployed additional counter-drone systems, including a so-called drone buster, to 2 bases in the Northeast.
Essentially emits a signal which is able to interrupt the signal on the drone, which can affect its flight.
The Pentagon going further, saying they have no reason to suspect a threat.
Is it possible that some of those drones could be up to malign activity? It's entirely possible, but the vast majority, that is not the case.
There are more than 1 million registered drones in the U.S., and it's not illegal to fly them day or night. According to federal regulators, recreational drones must fly at or below 400 feet, and pilots must maintain line of sight. And in New Jersey tonight, energy agencies knocking down an alarming theory, saying it's just not true. News reports linking drone sightings to a small amount of medical-grade radioactive material that was temporarily lost in transit. The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection issuing a statement to ABC News saying the source has been located, repackaged, and sent to the manufacturer. And the National Nuclear Security Administration saying it does not employ drones for nuclear radiological detection missions. That statement goes on to say that nuclear officials are not currently conducting any aerial operations in that region. And intelligence agencies insist that most of the thousands of sightings are some combination of various drones operating lawfully or manned civilian aircraft. Whit Johnson.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. You're typical. You're absolute typical. They're looking for something. They didn't just pop up, out of nowhere, it's almost as if they're looking for something, whatever that something may be. Again, I think that a lot of folks' opinions, just based on viewing with your own eyes what's actually happening, there seems to be some sort of a combination of activity happening. No question. So you all take that as you will. And of course, I will continue to follow this. It hasn't been trending as much on X as the last couple of weeks, but things do die down after a while. But don't get it, there was at one point drones, New Jersey drones was trending every single day, okay? Every hour of the day at one point. But man, shout out to those of you in the chat. Good to see you guys, all of you in the chat. What's up with it, Gloria? Manuel in the building, Queen's Throne in the building. Nakai, good to see you. Christy, hello. Famous producers, hello. They really do. They really do. And Leonard says they're insufferable. I know, right? It's amazing, right? How our own government will be dishonest with us about things. I definitely don't think they're all drones either. Again, there's no question in my mind, the plasma orbs that we've witnessed, nothing like the other technology flying around up there. And again, the Pentagon, that statement they released specifically talks about how they may look like stars. They're trying to calm the panic. They're trying. But when they lie to us so blatantly, it just so unfortunate. It could have been a great opportunity to admit some things exist that we know exist. I don't know they'll ever admit to. But you all, thank you for coming through. Before I get up out of here, allow me to pay a few bills, if you don't mind. Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll be back later on this evening. I'll be around. Okay. We'll see. I may go live later on and talk some more on some other stories, and potentially this one again as well, if there's any sort of change between now and then. But I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. You guys have a really great rest of your day. And if I don't talk to you before Christmas, enjoy your holidays. Until next time.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
And you're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.